And now for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, my friends. This is Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 381 of This Old Marketing for Friday, June 23rd, 2023. It's almost my birthday, you guys. And with me, as always, my pal, my colleague, and a guy who definitely doesn't store his golf shirts in his secret document boxes, Mr. Joe Pulizzi. How are you?
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good evening.
What? Yeah, you're. I always forget you're in morning.
That's
and
right.
I'm in
pretty
almost
early
afternoon time.
That's right. I do have coffee. I do have a giant mug.
I have a little bit of coffee. I'm on second cup coffee. You like my tilt mug? Isn't that nice? Little tilt. I'm going away every time I'm drinking. I'm going away from the drink because of the arrow. People that are listening to this won't get it because now that we can see
reversed.
Each other.
The arrow should be reversed. That the tilt is toward your mouth as you.
Oh yeah. How do I do that? I can't. Oh,
there
I
you
can
go.
do it this way. This is terrible podcasting.
Yeah.
You can't
brilliant video and horrible audio.
By the way, we've been getting some really good people enjoy seeing our faces.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
I don't know. Are you getting? I'm getting used to this a little bit more because I went for 10 years without seeing you.
Yeah,
and now I see you.
like it. I was slow to want to do it, as you know, and then but now that we're doing it, I think, I don't know, right, whatever that means.
Why do you why do you think we're doing it right? Why?
Because I think we took the time to make it visually interesting. At least try to make it visually interesting. It's always hard to make two talking heads, especially two talking chuckleheads, interesting visually to make a show. But after watching it a couple of times on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and just sort of watching the show, it is still one of those things where you can put it on in the background, as you're doing other things and multitasking. But now that you've got the video component to it, you can sort of glance over and you can sort of say, oh yes, they're showing a news item, or there's an image or there's a thing. So I've
heard a few people say that when we get to the news and we're showing the link or whatever, Laura on our team was saying when we were talking about the Browns logo and we were breaking it down on screen. I mean, that's the type of information you don't get a lot of on a lot of marketing media podcasts.
That's true. That's right. That's right. And this is where you come for the information that you don't need about marketing and media.
Yeah, we really have to work on our mission statement.
That's right.
Okay,
it's how do progress.
Basically, how do you waste an hour of somebody's time, but they can write it off as work? Like if they
That's exactly right. That's
a really good one, by the way. Somebody write that one down. And
I like it. I like it. In fact, send them to us. We should have a little contest or something.
Ooh,
to say, write the most ridiculous mission statement you can for how This Old Marketing is a useful podcast, and we should post the best one. We should post the best one to our site and stuff.
We'll absolutely do it. Yeah, the best of Chuckle Media.
That's right. And get a bucket of chicken.
and and big news. We're not at thisoldmarketing.site anymore.
That's great.
thisoldmarketing.com.
There you go.
We made the
move. It only took us 10 years, but yes, there we go.
Well, a lot of people don't know this. Well, maybe you do if you've been listening long enough. We started with the .site because we were sponsored by the .site folks, which were great, and it was a great partnership that we don't have anymore. And we don't have to use the .site. We decided we've got the .com.
Might as well.
We paid $9.99 for it. We might as well use
it. That's right.
Well, for the last couple of years, I've just been renewing it on my GoDaddy account, and I'm like, I should really do something with it.
We should put that to work.
Something. How's your summer going so far?
My summer has been really lovely. I mean, it's been, there's all these reports that are about the weather across the U.S. and how this is going to be one of the hottest summers ever on record. And I mean, Texas right now is just under a magnifying glass. It feels like burning up.
It's Texas.
Yeah, but here in California, it's been remarkably wonderful. The weather,
mild weather, average weather.
It's almost July, and we still have yet to break 90 degrees here. I mean,
that's crazy. I think last year you were already. I mean, you were heavy into the 90s in early June last year.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And so, and it's really been quite lovely. So, getting outside and doing some fun, things, and just having the windows open. It's been.
So basically, you forced your normal weather that you get in LA onto the rest of the South, and you just push all that, and everyone else could be miserable.
Yeah, and work-wise, I think it's been a weird year work-wise. I've confirmed this is that I do my sort of classic walk on the dog survey of clients of basically technology vendors that we interview for research, just colleagues across the country, and I've sort of asked about the sort of atmosphere or the temperature sort of business-wise, and it seems to be a common comment. It seems to be my experience as well, which is there's a lot of hesitancy right now. There's a lot of wait and see. There's a lot of uncertainty right now with teams and budgets and things like that. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of sort of a pause. It feels like there's lots of like, oh yeah, we'll get to that in 2 months, right? Or we'll take that project on and we'll think about how we'll staff it in 6 months or something like that. So what that has meant is that I've been, and sort of the flip side of that is I've been really busy, like super crazy busy, but I've been working on these classes and this new education curriculum and all of this for something that won't see the light of day until at least the end of the year, probably the beginning of next year. And so that combined with the busyness I've had on the book, I've been really busy, but there's a weirdness to it that it's like, but I don't see any of the results of it. You know what I mean? So it's just been a weird year work-wise.
Well, I think you're right. So we're not that far away from a lot of companies laying off a lot of people because we talked about it on the show. The companies overhired in 21 and early 22, I think. And then they had to go back on that. If you look at every tech company, they've had to let people go, and they've paused their marketing and advertising programs in a lot of cases. We were a lot of our supporters at the Tilt that were sponsoring. They wanted to continue sponsoring, but they said, "Yeah, we're doing a pause on all of our sponsorship programs."
Yeah,
and in a lot of cases, they feel they have to because they're cutting back in all these other places, and they say, "Oh, we're not going to go and be outward about our marketing promotion. Everything's going to take a little bit of a pause." Now, in the past month, a lot of those people are starting to come back and think about the end of the year in 24. So and this is all qualitative, Robert, I don't know, but this is just from my feeling. It seems like 24 is going to be a more of a spending year when it comes for marketing, because we've had this full almost 12 months of pause coming off the back of these layoffs, and let's wait and see, and everybody overblown.
I do think we're seeing the tech sector come back from the overcorrection, I would argue, that we saw late last year and early this year. And I would say I agree with you. I think we've seen the overhiring, the sort of the team size constriction and budget constrictions start to also come back, right? I mean, you can see it in the employment numbers, right? The employment numbers still continue to defy gravity, in the last report. So and inflation's coming down, so everything's pointing to good things, right? So I'm mildly bullish.
I'm always optimistic about it. My concern is, and I think we talked about it a couple episodes ago, where we've hit an all-time high in the US of credit card debt. After everyone got their COVID checks and savings went to a 30% or whatever it was, this crazy number. Right. Now you're back to people deficit spending in their own lives. And I don't know how long that spending can hold from a consumer standpoint, because you're putting your new what's Apple's new Vision Pro on your credit card or whatever.
Right, on your PayPal account, your PayPal pay over time account.
Yeah, you're putting I don't know how long we can sustain that. And then the Fed came out this week and said that they're going to resume interest rates because they don't think they've gotten that inflation quite a bit or enough. It's still an ongoing issue. So more interest rates there. That's going to mean borrowing costs are going to be higher across the board and continue that way. So I don't know. Obviously, you've seen the stock market come back.
Yeah.
Stock market is up across the board. Bitcoin, Ethereum are up. I mean, everybody's sort of back to good times temporarily. I don't know how long that's going to last, but that's the thing that really kills me is this credit card debt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, we've been there before though. I mean, it's
like for the last 30
years. It's a natural pendulum swing when we've got interest rates like this that have been historic lows and then rose so quickly, right? Because people started to borrow to pay back their debt, right? And so they started borrowing longer term to pay back the debt that they had, and that of course comes at a higher interest rate. So it'll be interesting.
And not that this is a financial show.
No.
But we tend to talk about it.
Take no advice from us. We should do that as a contest too, right? The disclaimers that we have.
We sort of talk. There's nothing that we won't talk about. We will go to the depths of any informational point. Anyways, how's your show flow this week? What do you have for
wonderful show. We had some fun stuff to talk about this week. It is summertime, and it is getting close to holidays of the midsummer. Not midsummer. It just started summer. Summer that started this week, actually. Anyway,
you're at midsummer. You're 2 days into summer, and you're already at midsummer.
Midsummer. Yeah. Right.
Wow, you are old. The days are going fast.
There we go.
Hold on tight.
Remember this.
Yeah, this. You're this. I'm old. This old marketing.
That's
Go ahead.
Right.
I'm sorry.
All right, we've got some fun stuff here. We've got Twitter goes to con, trying to, and not Star Trek con, goes to con France. Trying to bring back some advertising.
Twitter goes to cans.
Yeah. And basically we'll talk about what's going on there with their brand safety and how they're promising all sorts of new changes with Linda Yaccarino. And then just paired with that, because we had to, apparently Elon has challenged Zuck to a cage match, and Zuck has said yes. And so we'll talk about who might win in that particular cage match. Then TickTok. News out of TickTok. It is the first app, and by the way, the first non-gaming app to actually surpass $1 billion in quarterly consumer spend. And we'll talk about how we had no idea that was even a thing. And here they are creating an economy that is worth more than $1 billion. And then we will finish up with AB InBev, because, of course, with the boycott regarding Dylan Mulvaney and the LGBTQ community, they basically, AB InBev, the marketers, the senior level marketers there have come back and said, we should be humble with all of this boycotting. And we'll talk about what that actually really means and what the lessons might really be. I will talk a little bit about commentary in our Rants and Raves section about the continuing saga that's going on at Reddit, sort of feeding off of my little bit of a mini commentary last week, and talk about what the current state of the world of Reddit is. And Joe will talk about, a fascinating trend in media that might be larger, but using one from TalkSport to sort of illustrate what is actually happening in maybe the dark, as he calls it, the dark web of media, which I find fascinating.
I don't think that's a proper description for it, but that's what I called it. So I'm going to stick to it.
I like it. I like it regardless. Okay. I like it regardless.
That's nice. If you like it, then I'll stick with it.
Let's just make sure that we all understand where the power in this partnership relies.
Yeah. Every time you say Yaccarino, I think
Yaccarino.
I think of Pac-Man. Yaka. Waka. And we know it. That's Fozzie Bear.
Yeah.
She's the Fozzie Bear.
We do a good Fozzie Bear.
Social media. Linda Yaccarino.
Fozzie Bear. Yaccarino. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Our first, our cover story here, which is coming to us courtesy of Ad Age, and this is about Twitter. And Twitter goes to con. Twitter promises brand safety to win back ad dollars in con, even without Linda Yaccarino in con. Twitter's head of ad sales looks to assure marketers of the platform's safety. The article opens up by saying newly installed Twitter CEO Linda Yaccarino may not be attending the Conline International Festival of Creativity this week, but Twitter's ad sales team is there, and they are speaking the language of marketing that Twitter owner Elon Musk never quite embraced: brand safety. Chris Reedy, Twitter's head of ad sales, attended the festival to assuage advertisers' concerns about brand safety, which has been a constant problem on Twitter. Now, Twitter is talking about bringing in more guardians to prove that brands are not running any near objectionable material, and even if more harmful content is on the social media platform. Good luck with that. Twitter's con presence was reduced this year compared to its previous showings. Yaccarino, who just started in the role earlier this month, is not in attendance, and the company gave up a prime location on the beach where it used to host events. Google, Meta, TikTok, Amazon, Snap, Pinterest, and Reddit are all more visible this year. The article then goes on to still say Twitter's making use of its time, and basically has a bunch of included tweets from Chris Reedy talking about all the wonderful things that they're doing to enhance brand safety and suitability at Twitter. What did you think about all of this, and is it even real? I have definitely a take on this based on my personal experience over the last month with Twitter, but what do you think?
Yeah, I would continue my rant from the last 6 months. Twitter ad product doesn't work.
That's right.
So this is going to be a moment in time where we're going to say, Twitter actually had an ad product?
Yeah.
And they went to con to tell people that it was safe, because brand safety and Twitter go hand in hand. I think it's a bunch of BS, if you ask me. I don't even know why they're wasting time doing this. If you are thinking of, and this is terrible, I don't work for any of these other companies, but if you are going to spend social media advertising dollars, I would look at Meta's products, I would look at Instagram and Facebook, and I would look at what LinkedIn is doing. Even though I have a little bit of concern about LinkedIn, they're throwing in way more ads into their feeds than they had in the past. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, well, the popularity is definitely not lost on anybody, right? So
I don't. It's funny. My son, I sent my son to a link in LinkedIn, and the first thing he said was, "There are a lot of people on LinkedIn." Like, I didn't know, didn't know that was a thing. I'm like, yeah, welcome to. I think it was the first time he was ever on LinkedIn. So, how would you know? How would you?
Yeah.
know? But I guess that this is all. What is this? Just a perception play? It's a brand. They're just having a little bit of fun. I think somebody wanted to go to con, and they said, "How do we go?" Well, Linda, you're new. Go do the speech. Go be by the. There's a carousel down there, or whatever. Go do
she's
the
not
thing.
there. Yeah, she's not even there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then what's the point? Why are you even doing this? I don't even know why they're. I don't even know why they're doing this whole thing.
Well, I mean, it's sort of checking the boxes, right? They need to be there, else. We used to talk about this all the time when I was CMO of a software company, right? There are certain events that you have to be at because your absence would be more of a story than the actual presence. And so we used to go to these events. We had a booth at the various events that we would go to every single year, not because they were so great, but because they were so inside baseball for the competitors and the analysts, that if you didn't go, your absence would be
so
like,
true.
Why aren't you there? What's going on? And so I think this is exactly that. This is the ad sales team showing up at con going, there's the classic meme of the dog and the fire, like everything's fine. That's what this is really the ad sales team there, because other news outlets, which we could have easily covered as the Ad Age story, have talked about basically they haven't really brought on any new big advertisers, right? The advertisers that they're talking about here with brand safety have either never left and just cut their spend, or have or haven't come back. Basically, they have not yet come back. So this is all This is all smoke and mirrors.
It's all for show.
Yeah.
All for show.
Yeah,
so
Twitter advertising is broken fundamentally. I mean, my feed now, I mean, I've ranted on this show before, my feed being as bad as it's been. It's getting worse. I mean, if that's even possible, it's getting worse over time in terms of now there's more like weird, trashy ads being put into the already trashy content. And the only column, the only feed I can even look at is when I'm referenced, like when I'm, and by the way,
so whoever, Joe, you'll only go on and people are talking about you. It's basically what you're saying.
Well, it's the only
way to use Twitter, but
it's the only way I can actually see followers, right? Is because if I go to my For You tab, 85% of what I'm seeing are not from people I follow or who follow me. They're just
don't they have to be at least from a friend of a friend?
I think that's it, right?
I think it's like telephone tag.
Probably
something like it has to
probably
be
something like that.
Yeah.
That's the technical
term.
But the thing is, there's that, and the fascinating thing to me is that I've now been to two big events. So because CMI had our big content tech event this week, roughly 3,000 people registered. So it was a sort of, it's a rolling event over 3 days. So you get a lot of people who come in for a few sessions, or some people who register for specific, but great registration, right? Normally Twitter, even when we used to do the event in person, you had maybe 200 or 300 or 400 people at that event, and Twitter would be lit up, right, with the presentations, right? Screenshots and, oh, this is a great presentation, or I'm learning a lot, or whatever. Crickets on Twitter for this week on any of that. People are just not using it in our space, in our sort of marketing, tech, digital marketing space. That it has just, I think the usage, and this is anecdotal, I don't have data to prove this, but I think the usage has just fallen off the cliff.
I think you still have your power users, and you will continue to have your power users, but that middle group, kind of like you and I, where we were going every day for a little bit of time, now that it has become every other day or once a week, or so you're still gonna have your siloed group in there, but it's gonna be interesting the type of content that's gonna come out of there, and relationships. We'll see. I guess what I wanted to ask was, do you believe? Well, I don't know. We won't get into that. I'm almost thinking that in 2 years, the advertising revenue line for Twitter, if Twitter is still in existence, has got to be minuscule. They have to figure out a different revenue model. Advertising is not going to do it. It's not going to support the company.
Here's the thing. I don't know this either, but I would guess. So Twitter has always sort of been that, Jay Baird said this years ago, and I loved it. It wasn't about how many, it was who was on Twitter. And the celebrity sort of platform, that was a great, is where celebrities talked about everything, right? And that was sort of the high-end usage of it, right? Was that sort of cohort, if you will. And then that middle ground where you and I sit, right? Sort of the B2B business marketing, sort of talking about thought leadership, linking out to valuable content, the sort of more content marketing focus of Twitter was another piece of it. And then there was, of course, always the customer service side of things, right? So, and I know that's too simplistic, but just go with me that those three sort of major buckets of place of where, how you interacted with Twitter. And it was that middle one that really was where the advertisers were spending money, right? So advertising, there was marketing, there was, consumer brands, certainly, but it was really in that sort of middle space that you saw a lot of that ad revenue. And I think I have to imagine that that's really where the bucket has fallen, completely empty.
The behavioral analytics.
Big brands.
Well, yeah, if you're a huge consumer brand, you may be able to get something working on Twitter. But if you are really targeting the behavior of users, Facebook, TikTok, the algorithms are so smart today. I hate to tell you what I'm seeing on Facebook right now. They know me so well.
Yeah.
They are so amazing. And it's almost like I will think something and I'll see an ad for it.
Yeah.
It's nuts what's going on there. And you don't see that with Twitter. You absolutely, and you've never seen it with Twitter.
Well,
you still get ads for the stupidest things.
Yeah. So speaking of which, it's a really nice segue to our next story, which is in the face of Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, and we've covered this on the show before, launching a competitor, which couldn't find any news that actually said this outright, but I have heard from people that it's close. It's very close to launch. The
Are you spreading rumors? Is this a rumor?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. That's nothing. That's everything we do about this show is to spread rumors.
Again, do we have to put the disclaimer out that anything heard on this show is not necessarily
everything
true?
you hear on this show stays in the show. It's very much like Vegas.
I like it. That's fine. As long as that's you can't. Don't take it out. Exactly right. Don't take it out.
Although this is a story. There is a story, and there are people covering this because it is. Speaking of which, it's live on Twitter, which is that Mark Zuckerberg is now ready to fight Elon Musk in a cage match. This coming to us courtesy of The Verge. This is just as ridiculous as it gets. Basically, The Verge opens up and says, after Elon Musk recently tweeted that he would be up for a cage fight with Mark Zuckerberg, the Meta CEO shot back by posting a screenshot of Musk's tweet with the caption, "Send me the location." I've confirmed, meaning the reporter, that Zuckerberg's post on his Instagram account is in fact not a joke, which means the ball is now in Musk's court. The story speaks for itself, Meta spokesperson Iska Sarek told me. After this story was published, meaning the story here on The Verge, Musk responded with 2 words, Vegas Octagon. He then tweeted, I have this great move that I call the walrus, where I just lie on top of my opponent and do nothing. That's funny. That's Elon comedy at its best.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
that's pretty good. That's pretty good comedy, right? So then it has a couple of screenshots of the tweet and the sort of back and forth between them. Basically, this is all about Meta maybe launching the competitor to Twitter here in the very short order, which, to your point, Joe, may be actually a place where you could see something very interesting come along. And basically, it's a response to Zuckerberg at one point, I guess, on a podcast saying, basically, we're looking for a version of Twitter that is sanely run, which is not. I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I mean, so first of all, who would win? Who would win?
2 things real quick on the Twitter competitor that Meta launches. Meta's tech is so much better than Twitter's. They might actually be able to. I still think it's a losing business model. Yeah, but maybe they could do something with it. I think it's fake news. I don't think it's going to happen. That said, look at this picture of Zuckerberg.
He's jacked. Yeah,
he's jacked.
He's jacked. Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit scary. Look at those pythons he's got, man. He's taking it seriously. I do not think that Elon is in the gym like Zuckerberg is. Zuckerberg is taking this thing seriously. Zuckerberg would kick the crap out of Elon Musk.
Well, by the way, Zuckerberg is already he's an aspirational MMA fighter, and basically he's been studying jiu-jitsu for a long time.
You don't want to mess with him. And by the way, he never loses. He should have lost that whole lawsuit to the Winklevi. And he had to pay a little bit of money, which ends up being 0.001% of his holdings. And he wins. He just knows how to win.
Yeah.
The whole metaverse thing, that was a temporary setback, which, by the way, the metaverse thing is going away as a term. I believe people will need to stop using metaverse because it's tainted.
Here's the interesting thing, though. Here's the interesting thing, and why I'm maybe a little more bullish on Meta launching a competitor here, because it would come through Instagram. I think that's been pretty well reported. It would sort of come out of that, right? It would be sort of a Twitter clone.
Instagram would birth it,
not necessarily Facebook. I think so. I think that's what I've read.
And so, what's it called?
We called it. Remember, we called it InstaFlop, right?
InstaFlop would be.
Yeah. But I think it would have a chance, because the disparity between audiences is so vast right now. In other words, Twitter is the small backdoor sort of, raccoon at the door of Instagram in terms of size, right? It's just There's no comparison. Instagram would only have to convert, and I didn't do the math and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it would be easily done, a very small percentage of their current audience who could use their existing logins, because they could make it very easy to do a single sign-on across Facebook, Instagram, and this new thing.
And they're already doing it with Facebook and Instagram.
Exactly. So they could immediately offer, like, use your existing account and just add this cool new thing that is a Twitter-like thing.
Join the flop for free.
Exactly. Join the flop for free. And think about all the celebrities who would just go, of course, right? And that becomes their new platform because there's no risk. And they can already do it because they're already doing it on Instagram, and they can already start posting, and they can make that their default press release or communication with their fans and all of that, which means more fans come online, join Insta, join this new thing. And basically that encourages us, that middle bucket, to start to join. That encourages ad because they're already talking about brand safety over there in much deeper ways. And it could very easily just put a giant hole in the audience bucket of Elon's Twitter. And I think it could work. I really do see how.
Maybe you're right. Although Elon doesn't need any help seeing this thing go down the tubes. He doesn't.
No,
he could do it all by himself, and he's doing a really good job. So let's, when somebody's making a mistake, right? What movie is that from? When your enemy's making a mistake, don't interrupt them. What's that from?
Sun Tzu, Art of War. Yeah.
Yeah. So just let them go. So you could do. So you create the single sign-on. You go to the flop, and instead of a tweet, you do the flip. So I'm going to do the flip and the flop. Whatever. It's so stupid. They're not going to do it. I know that. Yes. Could it happen? It's not going to happen. Why waste their time?
I could totally see this happening.
The only reason why this happens is because Zuckerberg hates Elon and wants to destroy him. That's the only this is not a business model discussion. That's it. And that's why he's getting jacked.
Here's the thing. It's so easy to do. As you said, the technology is child's play.
Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right.
Well,
you have that stenciled somewhere on your wall at home. Just because it's easy doesn't make it right.
I absolutely see how this even if it's a small thing, it could be very easy to do. I don't know. I put a bet on it. I would put a bet on it that they're going to do something in this space.
Okay, let's put a bet on it.
Yeah.
How long?
Let's give it till fall, September. Let's give it till September. Back to school, right? So
you think something's going to be launched by September?
Correct.
Oh my God, I'd take that bet heartbeat. There's no way. There's nothing moves that fast. We're in media.
I'm telling you,
we're just getting started. This podcast is 10 years old. It's new. It's a new podcast.
It's brand new.
We're still whatever.
All right. But I like it. So the audience will hold us true to this. So we've got
by September, I'll give you to the end of September. Meta launches InstaFlop, the competitor to Twitter.
And what are we betting? Are we betting basically? Can we make the bet that you'll finally give up the ghost on the whole Disney Apple thing?
Oh my God! How can I give up the truth?
Yeah.
If I give that up, that's part of my core mission.
All right. All right.
Okay. I promise that I will stop talking about it for 6 months if I lose. How about that?
Good Lord. That's not even it. That's
good.
Thank you for nothing. That's
good. If I didn't, almost every show I talk about it. So you'll go, that's a lot of shows. That's like 24 shows that I won't mention it. That's a pretty good.
I think I'm putting a lot on the line on the line at some point. But
what are you gonna? You're not gonna give up anything. What are you gonna give up?
I don't know. I bet you a big.
We're terrible at this betting thing because we can't. I'll bet you $5.
Okay, there we go.
Okay,
$5.
Something with teeth.
Fantastic. It's a meaningful amount of money to me. All right. So let's go to our next story here, which is about a meaningful amount of money, which is courtesy of Media Post here. And this is about TickTok. TickTok is the first app to surpass $1 billion, $1 billion in quarterly consumer spend. In Q1 2023, TikTok became the first mobile app ever to surpass $1 billion in worldwide consumer spend across iOS and Google Play in a single quarter, according to apps analytic firm Data.ai. The Honor of Kings game came in second at 570 million, followed by YouTube with more than 530 million. TikTok is something of a unicorn when it comes to this business model. In contrast with other non-gaming apps, which derive nearly 70% of their worldwide sales from subscriptions, TikTok depends primarily on one-time in-app purchases, many of which are purchased as gifts for friends and family. The social video giant has built a large and loyal fan base, allowing it to forego the reliability of the subscription model and instead rake in billions of dollars with TickTok Coins, notes Data.ai. This is likely to have caught the attention of other social platforms that have not yet cracked the monetization beyond ads.
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah. TikTok was the only non-gaming title among the top 10 by one-time purchase revenue in the U.S. in Q1, earning more sales than some of the world's most popular games, including Candy Crush, Saga, Roblox, and Pokemon Go. This is amazing. I mean, I didn't even know, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know this was a thing, that TikTok Coins was a thing. I had to go out and research this, and it's a thing.
What are TikTok Coins called?
So TikTok, they're called TikTok Coins. They're called TikTok
They just
Coins.
Call it what it is. Good for them. They didn't name it.
It's basically it's a currency that TikTok invented, and so you buy TikTok Coins with real fiat currency, and when you buy these TikTok Coins, you now have them in your account. And you can do things like tip a content creator or sign up for their, stuff, and get, or just send it to a friend if you want to send it to send the money to a friend.
If I'm a creator on TikTok, which I'm not, but if I was doing a good job and somebody gave me a coin, could I then take that coin and create $1 out of it? I can cash it out, and there's a ratio of a coin to dollar ratio.
I would guess
so. It's a real life currency.
Yes, this is a real thing. It's a $1 billion currency. It's a $1 billion marketplace with its own currency, right? It's its own casino. You can go into the casino and you can spend those chips however you want to spend those chips. So it's its own
currency, and the sovereign entity that controls that currency is a Chinese company called TikTok.
There you go. I mean, it's an amazing.
You get really deep into this. This is scary.
It's crazy. And I would I plan to go do a little more research in terms of what's the margin on it. Like, where do you pay as a consumer? Do you pay on the sending? Do you pay on the cashing out? Which is where I would guess you pay is when you cash out. Like 100 TikTok Coins is not worth $100, right? So it's probably worth some. You probably pay a fee to cash out, which is where they make money, right? Is people cashing out.
Like a Stripe or Venmo.
That's right.
It's like Venmo.
That's right. So that's to be clear, it's not that TikTok is getting $1 billion of revenue from this. It has created people have purchased $1 billion worth of TikTok Coins, and that is.
But it's the same thing as if I bought if Starbucks saw $1 billion in Starbucks cards.
Right.
Same thing.
Which people forget about this wonderful financial, and again, not a finance show, but this wonderful financial thing called the float, right? Because where does that money go? Well, it goes right into a bank. And they're not only earning when you cash out, theoretically, I haven't done the math and we'll figure that out, but not only are they earning money if you cash out or at some point during the transaction with a fee of some kind, almost certainly, but they're also winning because that $1 billion of purchased TikTok Coins are real fiat currency that goes into a bank and sits there and earns interest and can be loaned out. And that, it has been said very much so that Starbucks with their Starbucks card is a bank. They're like a bank.
Apple,
they're sitting on
Amazon. Those are big businesses. And there are financial rules for when they can put that certain things down on their balance sheet with that stuff and when it needs to be used.
They can leverage that, but they can leverage, even if they just leverage it a little bit and get sort of a standard rate of return on it, like a 5 or 6 or 7%, standard rate of investment return on, and don't over leverage the, what's sitting in that quote unquote escrow account or whatever it is.
But we have to be on TikTok, right? So we couldn't ask people to send this old marketing TikTok coins because we actually have to have a TikTok account.
Correct. You have to
can't
be in
move
the
it
marketplace.
outside.
That's right.
See, Bitcoin's got the same problems. Like if you don't accept Bitcoin, it's an issue. But if you do,
right. Well,
Bitcoin,
it's even more interesting than that, because Bitcoin, you can hardly spend it anywhere, right? I mean, it's at least within the idea.
You can in El Salvador. It is
fair point. Yeah, fair point.
It's become it will get there. I mean, my whole thing on it. It doesn't have to be a currency right now. It can just be a store of value. But in the future, in the very everyone will be able to use it.
That's right.
It's coming.
That's right.
But regardless, this is amazing. I'm glad you sent me this. I did not know that this was a thing.
Yeah, I did not know. I knew that there was something, but I didn't know it was this big for sure. And to the fact that it's coming out twice as big, even if you don't believe Data AI's numbers here, because it would be impossible for them to really know the exact number. But even if it's not quite $1 billion, even if they're estimating, and they've, the fact that it's twice as big as the next biggest thing, which is the Candy Crush, that is a crazy amount of money, right?
Crazy.
Even if it's $700 million, right? Even if they're off by 30%, $700 million. I mean, that's just crazy amounts of money to, if they're getting 5% on that, jeepers creepers. That's it's free money. It's literally printing money. Anyway,
that's a lot of credit cards connected to TikTok. I'm a little nervous about that, but I have my issues there. So okay,
that's a whole that's a whole other thing.
But that's
all right.
Okay.
Getting to our last story here that we're going to talk about. And yes, here we go again. AB InBev. Have we not talked about it? But I actually wrote about this for CMI last week to celebrate Pride Month. But yet the story continues, right? So it's fascinating here. This article, before I jump into this article here, which is coming
from Fortune,
courtesy of Fortune,
I can't get into this article because I hit the paywall. See,
so here's the amazing thing about this, and I'm going to just rant for a minute. So if anybody from Fortune is out there, you suck. This is
I love
awful.
Constructive criticism.
Yes, this is just awful, right? So look at that subscription.
Why it's awful.
I just want you to look at the pricing there, right? I signed up for the $1 month trial because I want to see what it's all about, right? I'm prepared to subscribe to Fortune. I have a lot of subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the 1 month trial, if I forget, that automatically converts it. In other words, if I don't close my account by July 22nd of next month, basically, it's going to automatically convert into a $30 per month subscription.
I see this.
And I want you to look at the 1 year subscription, $8. But to get the $8 a month, you got to pay for the entire year. So in other words, it's roughly $400, 300 and whatever it is, $360 if I forget. $360 a year to get Fortune magazine if I'm just bad and forget, all because I wanted to see what it was all about and pay $1 for the 1 month trial. And it's basically $90 a year if I want to pay for a whole year up front. And if I want the print magazine, like if I want to not save the planet, I want print magazine along with it. Basically, you can see it's $11, so roughly $130 a year, but $300 for me to get a 1 month demonstration of this thing. I mean, that's just awful. It's just predatory, I think. Because people aren't going to pay attention to that much. They're going to pay attention to the $1 monthly, and they're not going to actually do. This is definitely an impulse buy for many people to sort of get to an article that they want to read.
Yeah, because you get so frustrated. You're like, I want this article. Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to spend the
and
dollar,
I know why they
the
do
process.
it. I know why they're doing this. This is basically as you can see, the save $235. That what they're trying to get everybody to do is sign up for a year, which of course gives you predictable revenue. It gives you 12 months of predictable revenue as a media company, and I totally get the strategy behind it. I just hate it. I just hate it from a consumer experience perspective. It's just awful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and they always want you to choose the middle one.
Of course.
It's why Wendy's created the triple cheeseburger, which is actually a thing. Did we talk about that last time?
No.
Wendy's wanted to sell the double cheeseburger. They couldn't sell it because people thought it was too much food versus the single. So what they figured out is they'll make the triple. Nobody will buy a triple, but they'll start buying the double. And Wendy's revolutionized the cheeseburger industry. And now people think a double cheeseburger is a regular portion that actual human beings should consume that much meat at one time.
That's right. Well, and this is, by the way, a classic marketing technique that's been around for forever, because you can see this really in the home appliance. Home appliances are famous for doing this, right? So you go and you look at a blender or a coffee maker or something like that, and you'll see basically there is the basic version. Then there is the wonderful super version, and then there's the deluxe sort of feature rich version. And basically the feature rich huge luxury version only exists so that it basically sets a price point for the middle version, which is
same as a car,
the highest margin. Same as a car.
It's like I'm going to buy the middle one that has a steering wheel, and
that's right. Exactly.
And the brakes work.
That's right.
I'm going to go to this BBC article because I actually it's the same thing, so you can talk about it. I'm going to get my access to the Fortune article now.
I'm going to get my dollar's worth out of Fortune. Tell
me what it says.
So basically, what has happened here is that Bud Light's multinational parent AB InBev, the world's largest beer producer by volume, is eating an American-sized portion of humble pie. That's what you get for your dollar, folks. That's that great cutting journalism. Anyway, I guess I'm
journalism
angry about the whole thing.
Journalism.
Yes. Journalism.
I like quality journalism too.
It's a verb. It's the present participle of the word journaling. Anyway,
what are you doing in there, Sonny? Leave me alone. I'm journalism. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
There's a dirty joke right there too that I'm not even going to go near. Okay.
Oh, dirty red.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
We have completely broken
Go
down.
ahead.
In reference to the ongoing boycott that has decimated sales of the once dominant U.S. lager, the Mega Brewer's global chief marketing officer indirectly admitted on Monday that his team had failed in an attempt to broaden the brand's appeal beyond its core demographic. A single Instagram post using transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney to promote the beer to less fratty consumers resulted in a catastrophic plunge in sales. Even the support of country music icon Garth Brooks couldn't prevent America's favorite beer from losing the crown to Modelo, especially in the month of May, the first full month of the impromptu boycott. As the quote goes, "In the times like this, when things get divisive and controversial so easily, I think it's an important wake-up call to all of us marketers for us to be very humble," said Marcel Marcon, addressing an audience of peers in Cannes, according to trade publication Adweek. The native Brazilian was in the south of France on Monday to accept on behalf of AB InBev a coveted Lion Award as the most creative marketer the second year running, the only brand to earn this distinction in the 69-year history of the advertising world's version of the Oscars. So this is basically him accepting an award for how innovative their marketing is, only to be going up on stage and saying, yeah, we suck at it.
You mean the marketing team that they let go or put on?
Yeah, that's right.
Permanent temporary leave. Okay.
That's right. Sense. So the article in here in Fortune basically goes on to say that the election is now underway, and that that Marcon was quoted as saying, "It's tough to see all the controversial and divisive debates happening in the U.S. the last couple of weeks involving all sorts of brands and companies, including and especially Bud Light," saying his company was reminding itself of the need to really understand our customers. Oh, I have so much. I have so much. Yeah. There's so much wrong with this, but
let me say one thing, but then I want to get your take. So it's clear it's been a month plus now, and not only Bud Light, but sales of Budweiser, Busch, and Natural Light are all down when the rest of the category is up. So this boycott is working. And what's amazing to me is that the people that are boycotting Bud Light also know that these other brands are associated with it, which is something in and of itself. So, and people have lost their jobs. There's people at InBev that don't know how long it's going to take them to get back to a point. So this has done major damage to this company, this marketing move. Why? What you're in the seat? What are you doing? Is this something they just should have never done? Is it because, unlike Nike, who did the same thing with similar thing with Colin Kaepernick, they stuck to it and they said, we believe in this instead of backpedaling like InBev has? It's like, oh, no, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. We're just going to talk about beer and good times from now on, basically what they came out and said.
Yeah.
We don't want to ruffle any feathers anymore. And so you will never see anything controversial out of this group for a long, long time.
Right.
So what do you think?
Well, here's what I think. So 3 points that I'll make. And one is in response to, I don't know if you heard Professor Galloway talk about this on Pivot.
I did not.
So one of the things that he said that got me thinking about this, and was one of the reasons that I ended up writing the piece that I did for CMI, was he said, it was a new piece of information that I hadn't researched and hadn't gotten into, and it have since looked at a little bit, and it's fascinating. Beer as a category is been on decline for a number of years, right? So the beer market is being surpassed by spirits in many ways, so the number of beer drinkers generally is decreasing. So it's a declining category where everybody's trying to innovate and become the number one in this in a shrinking market.
Okay, before you go on, but does that include like seltzers? I think it's just I think there's as many or more people drinking this stuff. It's just different kinds of beer. You got the twisted tea. Does that all count?
I have not gone to that depth of research. What I have seen is that the beer market, generally speaking, is in decline. It has been in decline, and steady decline for a number of years. I don't know if it's being surpassed by seltzers and teas and other sort of canned, sort of portable alcoholic drinks, but I do know that spirits have really risen, right? Especially tequila. Tequila has become, it has become a huge growth. Anyway. The point being, his point was, this was the wrong thing for them to do because pulling the rug out in a declining market is, basically it's a self-sabotaging move, and that they should be focused in on making sure that they're widening the, their core base, right? Deepening their core base rather than sort of trying to segment. And he says, but what I say to that is no. And when I look at because the whole premise of the boycott and what we're talking about here is that we're talking about something that is different, right? Which is, of course, the LGBT community here. And I don't buy into that whole premise, which is the brands that succeed. And by the way, the number of brands that did LGBTQ advertising this month with regard to Pride isn't down. Like, they're all still doing it. Everybody is still doing it, including, by the way, some of the brands that, Apple is doing it, and, Peloton is doing it, and all these major big brands are doing Pride Month marketing. Some of them good, some of them okay, some of them a little cringy, doesn't matter. So why is it that Budweiser gets thrown under the bus here because of this boycott, right? Because last year, by the way, they did an even bigger campaign, and they've been doing Pride, doing the bottle, doing the rainbow bottle. They've been doing that for years. Their Pride marketing is not new. It goes back 10 years. And so they've done everything from sponsoring parades to donating to LGBTQ communities to just all these things. Now, some of them have been really cringy in the past, right? Some of them have been 2021. They did a really cringy campaign as I went back and looked. And all of this, what it tells me is that this is not this year's problem. In other words, yes, this year is more heated. This year is more controversial. We are more divisive. There are, but I don't remember Kid Rock shooting up a bunch of beer bottles last year when they did this thing. It just caught virality, and this boycott sort of caught virality.
But it is different in the fact that it's always been, I think, lesbian and gay issues and not necessarily trans issue. Wasn't that the difference this year? That's okay. I'm not an expert in this area, but it seems to me that the conservative group, like the Kid Rocks of the world, have no problem with the lesbian and gay initiatives and having friends and that lifestyle. It seems to be the transgender issue that is the big one right now, because that's what I'm seeing and hearing. And the people, and that's what I was, I was at a party and there was Bud Light there, and there was a guy, they came over and said, I ain't drinking that stuff and whatever, and goes over and makes the comment, and it's a trans comment. That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
They leaned into that.
Yeah, I don't think they're making that nuanced of an argument. I really don't. I think this is an easy excuse for them to get clicks and attention and all kinds of things that is on the wrong side of this argument. My whole point was going to be is that the entirety of what happened here is Bud Light not truly believing as an institution what it is they've been saying, right? So in other words, this is an admission that everything they've been doing is sort of pride washing, right? Which is sort of, we're only doing this to sell more beer. And we don't understand this audience. And basically we don't, so in my view, the humbling part of this is not that there is this sort of, a legitimate point of view being had by a small and vocal group of people that are saying, hey, this is wrong, and so you should have humility about that. The thing that they should have humility about is the fact that institutionally, they just didn't believe this. They only were doing it as some sort of transactional campaign to try and widen out the number of people who are selling beer, right? So that to me is the mistake. And it's the mistake that Nike doesn't make. It's the mistake that Apple doesn't make. It's this Sesame Street. Sesame Street came out and had this wonderful Pride Month celebration and all their social media and stuff. They're getting just as much pushback. Why isn't it getting as much attention? Because they didn't say anything. They just continued to do it. They just sort of did it. They just sort of let, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. And then people would tweet at them and we're going to boycott Sesame Street and we hate Sesame Street, blah, blah, blah. They just didn't say it. They didn't respond. They didn't throw their marketing team under the bus. They didn't throw their social team under the bus. They didn't come out and go, ooh, we might be wrong about this. They just kept doing what they were doing. That's the response, right? If you believe in it, then basically this is it's a non-argument from the start. That's my major point.
No, I think that absolutely. I mean, the Nike situation with Colin Kaepernick, when Kaepernick was kneeling during the national anthem and football games, basically showing his silent protest against police brutality against African Americans and all. The people that saw Nike get behind that and felt something about that, they purchased Nike products. They were supporting Nike because Nike was taking a stand. In this case, nobody from either side. Like, there was nothing to make up. Okay, so whatever, Bud Light's down 26% or whatever. There's nobody from the LGBTQ community that's necessarily buying on the other side to offset, because they know that InBev does not stand for that.
That's right. Exactly.
That's not part of their core mission. So that I think is a great learning that you just brought up. It's so important to say, if you're going to do this kind of marketing, it's fine. It's great, but make sure you believe in it and you're going to stand by it when you do it.
Right. As I've said to so many more, and this goes well beyond the LGBTQ community, goes into sort of aligning your brand or celebrating any community. The same thing with Juneteenth, and the same thing with, any other community that you're going to celebrate through marketing, is one of the things you have to realize is that in order to be really right for someone, you have to be willing to be really wrong for someone else.
That's exactly right.
And
your
so
content isn't for everyone.
And if you don't believe it, if you don't believe it's worth it to be wrong for somebody else, then, this is why the Garth Brooks thing is his response is perfect, right? You want to be an asshole, go drink somewhere else. And that's it, right? It's that. So what you end up doing, and this was the point of my CMI piece, which is you can defend your point of view, right? Always you can defend your point of view. Garth Brooks defended his point of view by basically saying, this is not an argument I'm willing to have, because if you want, go somewhere else. I'm not willing to discuss this. But if your immediate response is, how are we going to defend this decision to have this point of view, which is what Bud Light did. In other words, they were indecisive about making the decision to have this point of view about LGBTQ and Pride Month. That's when you're making a mistake. If you're thinking, how am I going to defend this decision? You shouldn't make it. You should not do it. And that's what I would encourage the head of marketing at AB InBev, Marcel Marcon, to consider. If you're not willing to defend, you can defend the point of view all day long by either not saying something, like by what Sesame Street did, or by what Garth Brooks said, and actually taking a proactive response to the point of view. But if you're saying to yourself, how are we going to defend making this decision to go this way? Then you shouldn't make it. Then you should, because you clearly don't believe it, right? If you can't make the justification for making the decision, you actually don't believe it.
Yeah, I think that to close this out, I think that their comeback to, we don't want to ruffle feathers anymore, we don't want a point of view, was just terrible.
It's horrible.
Just absolutely, it'd be better, to your point, to say nothing.
That's right.
To just why even say, oh my God, mea culpa.
Yeah. Oh, we don't want to ruffle feathers. Is telling the world that you don't believe in the decision, right?
He just said, we just want to be beer. We just want to be loved by everyone. I was like,
that's
oh
right.
My God.
That's
whatever.
Right.
All right.
That's right. Okay. All right. Before we get to our rants and raves section, let's just remind everybody, by the way, that we've got some wonderful stuff at thisoldmarketing.com. We're going oldschool.com. We've got the video versions of this wonderful thing on YouTube. You can subscribe to Joe's amazing newsletter, The Tilt. You can join our little Experience Advisors community. You can get the show notes from all of our episodes. You can immerse yourself in 380 hours of chuckle-headed goodness over there. You can get all that stuff over on the website, because we love you. We really do. And by the way, you can send us voicemail. You can send us email. You can sort of tweet us up on the hashtag. Give us story ideas. We love the story ideas, of course. And you can talk to us literally. So do all of that. And basically, do it on LinkedIn too. If you're on LinkedIn and you're not on Twitter anymore, do it on LinkedIn. I'm doing the searches now on LinkedIn, and it's all good. So there you go. All right. What do you got?
Let me go first. I don't really know if I have a point with this. I just want to tell you my experience is what happened. So basically, the U.S. Open was played last weekend, golf championship, biggest championship in the sport, depending on if you think the Masters is, but doesn't matter. And a gentleman named Wyndham Clark won. And there was some really no controversy, but there was some controversy from some people that said that during the match, when he was addressing his ball moved. And for those people that know golf, is when you address the ball and you move the ball enough that it actually changes the placement, it is a penalty. What Wyndham Clark should have done is should have stood back and said, "Whoa, I think my ball moved. I need an official to come in here." Didn't do that. Just go ahead and play. Nobody made mention of anything, but apparently the ball, what they call oscillated a little bit, went back to its normal place, and there would be no need for a penalty. None of that matters. The point is that all of the major sports, ESPN, the U.S. Open itself, PGA, whatever, didn't mention any. There was no talk about anything about this. Then there was some folks that shot the video and started promoting it on Twitter, social media, whatever, with this video, and said, "Look at this video. The ball moved. He should have been penalized. It should have been a playoff. Should have never happened. Whatever the case is." So I go, I'll show you this so you can see what's going on here. But this is one of the sites. I got wind of it because I was on MSN.com, believe it or not. And it was the lead story on MSN.com coming from this place, Talk Sport, which isn't really a sports site. It's I don't really know what it is. It's just somebody put together a sports site and starts talking about, did Wyndham Clark's ball move? Fans rage at this controversial video. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know this was a thing
at all.
Yeah. Is this a thing? Whatever. I go in and I search it. So I go to this thing. It's like, oh my God, this is today. So it's got some new things, but it's got a site called Marca on here. There's another site here from Sportskeeda. Like there's all these, there's the Spun. There's all these different types of, there's 100 of them of these things that are making this thing an issue, that are talking about this huge controversy, all this link bait. And I'm going and I'm looking at every major site, Robert. I couldn't find anything, not even anyone talking about it. It was not even a thing. And now today, so this is days later, 5 days later, whatever. Now I go to do a search and the New York Post covered it. Oh, Fox News is covering it. And all I'm going to say is, and I don't think this is an issue. I looked at the video. It looked like it oscillated a little bit, but probably somebody should have taken a look at it. But the fact that no major media outlet was looking at it until you had all these dark media sites, hundreds of them were covering the same issue with the same video, using the same Twitter reactions and whatever. And then all of a sudden that bubbles up and it gets caught by the mainstream media, and I'm assuming the PGA is going to have to look at this now.
Well, that's welcome to the media making the news by the arbitrage.
Isn't this
traffic.
Crazy? So I don't have a comment on it, but you can see, even per our last conversation, you can see how this stuff goes and you get some people, but if it's any kind of controversial issue today, you've got hundreds, if not thousands of little media sites behind that that are funded by different efforts to make sure that these things get out there. And it's interesting to know. I just saw it happen, and it continues to happen, and there'll probably be some investigation coming from these slew of, and I wouldn't call them, they're not fake sites, but they're not reputable sites, I guess I would say, because they're covering the worst of sports.
Sure. Yeah. You can see the same thing happening in news. You can see the same thing happening. The New York Post is famous for this, right? Where, you've got fringe news outlets like the New York Post, which are putting in clickbaity, sensationalistic headlines, all in the name of, we talked about this last week when we talked about the news, right? With it used to be in the newspaper business, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Yeah. And now it's, I need to find something that rhymes with clicks, but basically if it clicks, it licks or something.
You might want to stop right there.
Yeah.
There's other
basically.
There's we can all rhyme. We all can rhyme.
That's funny because it will get to it. It does segue it into my Reddit comment here in just a moment. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think, and to your point, it's a cycle of, it gets enough virality because of the amount of clickbaity, linkbaity headlines that drive the story, that at some point it starts creating the actions on the other side, right? That the PGA will now have to look at this because it's got enough, it's got enough vocal protest to it that they will see it as an opportunity to stay in the news, right? And that's the crazy news cycle that we live in these days.
Just crazy. Yeah. Anyways, what is your
mine very quickly here is that Reddit continues. And so this last week, we talked about last week how Reddit, because of the new API changes and the cost therein, were basically really making the mods, who are all volunteers for the most part, and sort of just have organically grown over time and have taken over basically by blacking out many of the subreddits that were there in various topics. Well, that went fine, but I guess didn't really get enough impact that they wanted. The CEO of Reddit has basically said, hey, this whole thing is going to blow over, the API access thing, it's going to be, but what we have seen over the last week, ooh boy, if your Reddit feed has gotten a lot more not safe for work, let's put it that way. Many of the most popular subreddits there have basically said, hey, we'll allow anything you want to post. So I was literally scrolling through my feed last night of quote unquote most popular, or the home feed, which is basically a amalgamation of many of the subreddits that you frequent. And yeah, it got it, speaking of if it clicks and then rhyming with that, yeah, you saw all kinds of things, right? You saw, which, I mean, it can only be described as not safe for work. I mean, it's just stuff that you just like wouldn't want your kids to see.
So they're all boycotting this thing.
They're all doing this. And of course, now what Reddit has done is sort of thrown out their mods. My whole point in all of this is that as this adventure continues is this is a marketing problem. Again, a marketing and communications problem from the actual company. But reality, if you pull the page apart and you just sort of look at the black and white issues here, these mods have no reason to feel entitled, right? They have built their hours and years and whatever time that they've spent moderating these subreddits as a volunteer. There was no expectation that they were going to have a career at this, or that they were, they're doing it out of the passion of their own heart. And somewhere along the line, because of the communications I'm sure were coming from Reddit, they got a little entitled. They've gotten entitled to say, hey, listen, this is ours as much as it is yours. And it's not true. As we've talked about many times on this rented land idea, just because you spend all your time there doesn't make it any more yours. And so it is truly, you're giving your time away to build their business. Yeah. And you are replaceable. So it is, you can say he's mean, you can say he's a jerk for doing this, the CEO, but it's perfectly within their right to do whatever they want to do. It's their business. And they want to manage it. And it's so it is. It's a fascinating adventure to watch in real time. This car crash in real time. It's like, who's gonna back down first? In other words, do you just get to a point where you lose so much value from sabotaging the feed with stuff that the Reddit has to give in? Or does Reddit hold a line and basically wait for this whole thing to pass, like the CEO says, and says, at some point, we're going to have sanity return and people will be happy to be moderators in this new world? I don't know what the answer is yet, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, well, a lot of these these boycotts seem to be lasting longer than any of us think. So it's going to be interesting how long, because I'm sure they didn't expect this. No. My only commentary from what you were saying was, I don't know how well communications were handled directly with the moderators. I'm
sure it wasn't handled well at all. Yeah.
Yeah. If they would have just started and saying, instead of putting out the whole, here's the API thing, here's what we're going to do. If they would have just checked the box and said, okay, we've got to communicate with these groups of people. These are our most important. We got to make our community
think it's their idea. Yeah.
It's like, and could have got a little bit of a permission ahead of time, because they would have been fighting the battle for you if you would have communicated with them ahead of time, which I'm sure they didn't do.
Again,
so they got themselves into this mess.
As we just talked about, now the Reddit CEO is in the position of defending the decision, not the point of view.
Yeah, there you go.
In other words, he's defending the decision that they're making, not the actual outcome of whatever that decision is. And so it's already starting off on the wrong foot.
Unfortunate. Right. What do you got going on this weekend?
I am hip deep in doing new classes and content and all that kind of stuff, and some client work. And I've got a trip coming up next week. And so, and I'll be on the road, as it were. You?
We're into summer, in midsummer, as you would put it, although it's only 2 days in Cleveland, Ohio. We're doing all the things. We're going to the breweries, and we're going to the roller coaster parks, and we're seeing family, and we've got some graduation parties this weekend, and we're just having a good old time. So
I absolutely love it.
And it's beautiful weather here in Cleveland, Ohio.
It's beautiful weather here too. So we'll just get out there and enjoy the weather, and hope you can enjoy the weather wherever you are, wherever this wonderful podcast finds you. And we will see you next week. And until we see you next week, just remember, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.